Let us bow our heads in prayer. O God, we come together in your name in this parliament to debate our nation's affairs and pass laws for the betterment and welfare of all Fijians. Guide us in our deliberations and grant us the wisdom to do what is just and fair. We ask you to bless our beloved nation and grant every Fijian peace, prosperity, and equal opportunity. Help us to serve our citizens with honesty, integrity, and without fear or favor, to keep the trust of those who have sent us here. We seek your divine guidance to continue to build a better nation for all Fijians. In your name, amen. Amen. Thank you, honorable members. You may now be seated. Secretary General.
Confirmation of minutes.
Leader of the government in Parliament.
Madam Speaker, I move that the minutes of the sitting of Parliament held on Friday, 24th March 2017, as previously circulated, be taken as read and be confirmed.
We have a seconder.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to second the motion.
Parliament will now vote on the motion. And the question is that the minutes of the sitting of Parliament held on Friday, 24th March 2017, as previously circulated, be taken as read and be confirmed. Does any member oppose the motion? As no member opposes, the motion is agreed to unanimously. Secretary General.
Communications from the Chair.
I welcome all honourable members to the first day of April sitting of Parliament. I also welcome the members of the public joining us in the gallery and those watching proceedings on television and the internet and listening to the radio. And a special welcome to the PL 100 students from USP who are here with us this morning. Thank you for taking interest in your Parliament. I am delighted to announce that for the first time ever, the Parliament has now secured the services of officers who are proficient in sign language to provide simultaneous interpretation of the Parliament sittings to the viewers. This has now commenced as of today, and I am glad that Parliament is ensuring that information and communications in the Parliament sittings is also accessible to the deaf people. As you may all have been aware, the Parliament has been working on trying to get this service running. However, due to the technical challenges faced, this was now not possible for the February and March sitting of this year. I am grateful to the Minister for Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation for responding positively to our call for assistance in this respect. My appreciation also goes out to the Fiji Association of the Deaf, the Department of Communications, and the Fiji Broadcasting Corporation for their commitment towards this worthy cause. At this juncture, I would like to congratulate all the students who participated at the 2017 Coca-Cola Games and to Natambua High School for winning the boys title, and Andila Kumbao School for winning the girls. Congratulations. Thank you. Secretary General.
Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, I rise on Standing Order 125, 2 and 3 regarding my motion that was rejected by Parliament after it had gone through, in my view, the proper vetting and authority of the Business Committee. The Business Committee met on Thursday and agreed on this, on my motion, and the motion is simply to express support to FSC for partnering with the Itoke farmers, cane farmers, through cooperatives and joint ventures. There was a flying minute sent out on Friday, which did not say anything about my motion. And again on Sunday, said nothing about my motion. It was only last night I got a phone call that my motion has been rejected. I find this to be in breach of 1252 and 1253, and that a motion of this nature which benefits sugar. We are in the midst of debating on Sugar Bill 19 and 20, and this, we believe, is integral to that, to increase production by involving a lot of Itoke farmers who have lost interest in the sugar industry. I believe it's a viable motion, Madam Speaker, and it's sad that this Parliament has seen this to be a racist motion. If it's racist, Madam Speaker...
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your point of order is clear. Thank you. Actually, the Secretary received objections to the inclusion of the motion by the Honourable William Ngawaka. These objections were received past the deadline. However, I had accepted them. Having considered the objections at length, I ruled that the motion is out of order as it breaches Standing Order 48A. The motion, as worded, seeks to single out a particular ethnic group of Fijian farmers and potential farmers. The FEC, like other government agencies and ministries, provides assistance to all Fijians on the basis of need and, where applicable, on the basis of merit and not ethnicity. The Honourable Ngawaka was informed of my ruling. Thank you. Secretary General.
Presentation of papers and certain documents.
I now call upon the Minister for Education, Heritage and Arts to table his report.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 38, I present the Fiji National University Annual Report 2015 to Parliament.
Please hand the report to the Secretary General. Under Standing Order 38, Clause 2, I refer the Fiji National University Annual Report 2015 to the Standing Committee on Social Affairs. And now call upon the Minister for Forestry to table his report.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 38, I present the following reports to Parliament. Department of Forest Annual Report 2014 and Forestry Department Annual Report 2015.
Please hand the report to the Secretary General. Under Standing Order 38, Clause 2, I refer the Department of Forests Annual Report 2014 and the Forestry Department Annual Report 2015 to the Standing Committee on Natural Resources. Secretary General.
Presentation of reports of committees.
I now call on the Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Social Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am pleased to present the Standing Committee on Social Affairs report on the petition for Parliament to remove discriminatory double penalty system, ill treatment and illegal booking on drivers by Land Transport Authority officials. The Parliamentary Standing Committee under the 2013 Constitution and Parliament standing orders aim to enhance transparency and accountability by public agencies and officials. The report examines oral submissions by Land Transport Authority on their view in regards to the mentioned petition. The committee held its first meeting for this issue on 28 March 2017 and agreed to consult LTA first before get the views of the other stakeholders. The response received from LTA confirmed that the issues raised in the petitions have been addressed. On this regard, the amendment that was made to the Land Transport Act 1998 in 2015 had resolved the whole issue that arises from the demerit point system. Further, the committee was also informed that demerit points are only awarded by the courts, and LTA prosecutors update records to capture the demerit points that were awarded, and these records are maintained in the LTA database. On this note, the committee had agreed not to take further action in terms of the consultation of this petition, since the issue has been resolved through the amendments that were made to the LTA Act 1998 in 2015. Overall, the committee acknowledges the efforts of the LTA in putting in place measures to improve and strengthen the enforcement of its functions and obligation as per legislated under the LTA Act, not only to address the issues that were raised for the demerit point system, but also to other issues that relate to land transport affairs in Fiji. The committee appreciates the monitoring that was undertaken by LTA in terms of ensuring that its divisional staffs had been trained and educated on the amendments made to LTA Act in 2015, as well as the awareness that were conducted for the stakeholders. At this juncture, I wish to thank the honourable members and the Secretariat team who were involved in the production of this bipartisan report, my committee colleague, Honourable Vina Bhatnagar, Deputy Chairperson, Honourable Salot Ranondo, Honourable Ruveni Nandalo, Honourable Andre Vande, and Honourable Alvik Maharaj. With these words, I commend this report to Parliament.
Thank you. Please hand the report to the Secretary General.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 1215, I hereby move a motion without notice that a debate on the contents of the report is initiated at a future sitting. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Do we have a seconder?
Rise to second the motion.
Parliament will now vote, and the question is that a debate on the contents of the report is initiated at a future sitting. Does any member oppose? As no member opposes, the motion is agreed to unanimously. Secretary General.
Presentation of reports of committees.
I now call on the Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Social Affairs to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to present the Standing Committee report on Social Affairs. And I am pleased to present the committee review report on the assessment made to the National Fire Authority 2012 annual report. The assessment made to NFA's 2012 annual report was done in accordance with Section 109 2B of the Standing Orders of Parliament, in which the Standing Committee on Social Affairs is mandated to look into issues related to health, education, social service, labour, culture, media and their administration. Initially, the committee, after its internal deliberations on the annual report, then invited NFA to present some of the key aspects of its performance. Some of the key areas that were presented to the committee included NFA's budgetary performance, organizational structure, administration, major achievements and challenges. The assessments made by the committee revealed that out of the 95 fire incidents, majority 91% of the fire incidents that had happened in 2012 were residential properties, then the commercial fires 9% related incidents. The committee commended the work of NFA in 2012, which they had responded to a total of 2,798 fire incidents, which has increased by 374 compared to NFA's 2011 fire incidents response. The review report is a bipartisan one, which is the input of both sides of the committee. The committee has noted the contents of the annual report, and due to the time that has left, the committee anticipates that corrective actions has been taken by NFA to address the challenges and issues that were faced by NFA in 2012. The committee acknowledges the efforts of NFA in providing first-hand information to the members in relation to NFA's performance as per detailed in the 2012 annual report. Also, I would like to thank the members of the committee and all their substantial effort in the consultation as well as in the formulation of this bipartisan report. Finally, I also would like to thank the Secretariat team for their continuous support towards the compilation and the finalization of this committee report. With these words, on behalf of the committee, I commend this report to Parliament.
Thank you. Please hand the report to the Secretary General.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 1215, I hereby move a motion without notice that a debate on the contents of the report is initiated at a future sitting. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Do we have a seconder?
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Parliament will now vote, and the question is that a debate on the contents of the report is initiated at a future sitting. Does any member oppose? As no member opposes, the motion is agreed to unanimously.
Point of order, Madam Speaker, under 39. I note with serious concern that since the establishment of this Parliament, we've had a number of reports presented to this Parliament, and very few, I think only reports on bills, if I'm correct, has been debated in this Parliament. Madam Speaker, it makes no sense to have committees to look at reports, they come to Parliament, present it, and there is no debate on any of those reports. I think it's becoming a futile exercise, in terms of referring reports to the committees deliberating it, reporting it to Parliament, and the Parliament has no debate. I think we need to consider this seriously in the Business Committee, and perhaps allocate time in Parliament so that some of these reports can be debated. Otherwise, it's a meaningless exercise, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Your concern is noted.
Because if I may just respond to the point of order raised by the Honourable Member, 39 does not specify any specific times as to which reports will have to be debated. However, Madam Speaker, I wish to mention that ministries will also have to respond to the annual reports, and that is something that we are doing this morning. My ministry, for example, and then we should be in a position to debate on the reports once the response from the relevant ministries are tabled before the House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, if I can respond to that as well. I'm not talking about the response from the ministries. I think when the reports are presented to Parliament, Madam Speaker, there is a motion. And as we just saw, the Honourable Member moved two motions, seeking specifically a debate at a later date. And the later date, in this case, Madam Speaker, we've had reports since 2014 and 15. So that's the point I'm making. I'm not pointing out, what the ministry does or not. The fact of the matter is a parliamentary matter, and I think the Business Committee needs to consider this and make sure that the reports are debated and time allocated to it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. You do have other opportunities where issues can be raised, and by way of motions and questions, ministerial statements, and that is in the parliamentary process. Thank you. Although not on the order paper, the Secretariat has received responses from relevant government departments with respect to reports of standing committees. At this juncture, I am to remind the House that once the reports of the standing committees are tabled, the respective ministries have 60 days to respond to the reports. I am delighted to say that the following ministers will table their responses this morning. 1, the Minister for Health and Medical Services. 2, the Minister for Agriculture, Rural Maritime Development and National Disaster Management. And 3, the Minister for Youth and Sports. I now call on the Minister for Health and Medical Services to table her response.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 121.6b, I hereby table my response to the Standing Committee on Social Affairs Report on the Ministry of Health Annual Report 2014 and 2015. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Please hand your response to the Secretary General. I now call on the Minister for Agriculture, Rural Maritime Development and National Disaster Management to table his response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I table the report, please just allow me to, for the purpose of the proper records and the right records of this House, refer again to the point of order raised by the Honourable Ngaboka. Let me state before this Honourable House that the motion by the Honourable Member was not discussed during this business committee meeting on Thursday. The motion came by way of a flying minute. It was never discussed at all during the business committee meeting on Thursday, the 20th of April, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 121-6B, I hereby table my response to the Standing Committee on Natural Resources report on the Ministry of Agriculture's annual report for 2008, 2009, 2011 and 2012. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. Please hand your response to the Secretary General. I now call on the Minister for Youth and Sports to table his response.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Orders per Section 121 per 6 per B, I hereby table my response to the Standing Committee on Social Welfare reports on the Ministry of Youth and Sports Annual Report 2015.
Please hand your report to the Secretary General. Secretary General.
Oral questions.
And now give the floor to the Honourable Sarah Theranrongo.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, this is under 43, urgent oral question. And this morning 43.1 says, Madam Speaker, and if I can read this, despite Standing Order 41.2, a member who is not a minister may, at the start of the time appointed for questions under Standing Order 34, give notice of an urgent oral question by delivering a written copy of the question to the Secretary General 1 hour before the sitting in which the question will be asked, and the question must be of an urgent character and relates to a matter of public importance. Madam Speaker, the urgent oral question was in relation to the lack of availability of medicine in hospitals. And I was going to ask this urgent question to the Minister and bring to her attention the state of the availability of medicine in CWM Hospital. And I thought it was an important question, matter of public interest, and we should have been allowed to ask that question.
Thank you. I had a look at your question, but the question refers to an issue that has been ongoing in the past so many years, and therefore does not qualify as an urgent question to be delivered at this time, and this is why this question was not allowed. Question that is urgent would be a matter of urgency, but this is an issue that has been ongoing. Thank you. Honourable Sergeant Rover, you still have the floor.
Madam Speaker, can I raise a point of order first? Madam Speaker, just a point of clarification in regards to the motion by the Honourable Ngavoka that has been not included in the order paper.
Sorry, Honourable Member, I will not allow that order paper. I have already made a ruling on that point of order, and we will now move on. Thank you. Honourable Randondro, please ask your question now.
I think we need to be...
Sorry, are you what? Thank you. Honourable Randondro, please ask your question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. May I first of all echo your sentiments in congratulating the girls from Andivakambao School in winning the Coca-Cola Games division in the true spirit of Waimanukui, and also the boys from Matambua High School all the way from Western Division. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The question is to the Honourable Minister for Local Government, Housing, Environment, Infrastructure and Transport. Can the Minister brief the House on what is being done to address major traffic jams due to the huge number of vehicles on our roads today? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Minister for Local Government, Housing, Environment, Infrastructure and Transport. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I also thank the Honourable Member. Madam Speaker, as a developing country, Fiji is experiencing shift in transportation preference as it becomes more inclined towards private transportation. Madam Speaker, in December 2016, the national vehicle fleet registered with the LTA was at 110,763 as compared to 101,425 in December 2015, signifying a 9.2% increase. Madam Speaker, in addition to the increase in vehicle population, the decentralization of activities, changing land use, competition, rural to urban migration, and informal settlements have influenced travel patterns of the public traveling to work, school, accessing to health facilities and recreational facilities. Madam Speaker, the positive economic outlook, investor confidence in Fiji have inspired many Fijians to improve their standard of living, whether it is migrating to major urban centers for better education and employment opportunities or to engage in business enterprises. It is the ability to secure a roof over their head and owning a car that are two vital indicators for the progress, Madam Speaker. This is the trend for an aspiring society, Madam Speaker, to which Fiji is no exception. Madam Speaker, the LTA works to ensuring the public transport services to the general public is maintained or enhanced. That is one of the core functions guiding its service delivery. The Fiji Police Force, Traffic Department, Land Transport Authority officers and municipal officers manage traffic during peak periods at busy intersections and school crossing zones to ensure the smooth flow of traffic. Madam Speaker, Ministry has also established technical working group with all stakeholders from the private and public sector to develop plans in tackling traffic congestion. And its concentration includes: 1, the implementation of flexi hours. This consultation continues with the relevant stakeholders. 2, the need to implement dedicated lanes during peak hours. 3, propose bypass in certain locations and recommend 4 and 3 lanes. Madam Speaker, all in all, it will require concerted effort from users of the transport systems, urban planners, policy makers, and decision makers to propose and implement targeted solutions that will achieve an intended outcome. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Minister, for your response. The problem here is we have too many cars. Our roads have very much remained the same. So what is your ministry doing with the Ministry of Economy in terms of the high importation of cars, particularly the hybrid and the electronic one, because of the removal of the duties? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Yeah, the onus is on you to respond to that question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member has stated that the vehicle population is increasing and what the Ministry of Government is doing. Madam Speaker, as we all are aware, that the major works from Nasori to Suva has started, the 4-lane. This is the only government which has got vision, political will to do such things, Madam Speaker. And in terms of the vehicles that she is saying, what ministry or LTA is going to do, that's an individual's right, Madam Speaker. And we are not going, this government is not going to deny that right. Thank you.
Supplementary, Madam Speaker, as usual, the Minister has not answered the question. The question is, we all know there's traffic has increased, number of vehicles have increased, and his explanation, that is understood. That's a no-brainer. What he needs to tell is...
Is that your question?
What he needs to tell, Madam Speaker, let me raise this point of order again. You have repeatedly told the members of the other side, we have 1 minute to ask the question. They should respect it.
Order. You stood up to ask a supplementary question.
Yes, I'm asking a supplementary question. Madam Speaker.
You had your time, please, Honourable Minister. Is there a question to be answered?
Yes.
Has he asked a question that you can answer?
Yes,
he has not asked. Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honourable Noikula.
Listening to the Honourable Minister, he said nothing. He said nothing. 4 lanes, done, nearly done.
Your question, please.
And he was only making recommendations.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the question. You know, will you build another bypass? And secondly, as recommended by...
Thank you.
As recommended by the...
Sorry, you're allowed only one question. You have not asked a question.
It's related to that.
You made a proposition.
No.
Thank you.
Will you build another bypass?
There being no other question, is there any other supplementary question from... Thank you, Honourable Asir. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Minister for his reply. I'm trying to find out what was his reply to the question that was asked. The supplementary question that I'd like to ask the Minister is, what about the ratio of vehicle against the capacity of the road to sustain the increase in traffic flow?
Thank you. That is a statistical question, and he may provide you with a written answer to respond to that question. Honourable Ro Kilraki.
Supplementary question, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary question.
The question is there any other alternative mode of transportation between Nosuri and Suva corridor, like the train, whether the ministry has that in the pipeline?
Thank you. You asked a question and you also responded.
I asked the question whether there's any...
But you responded with a train, so that is a proposition maybe the Minister. Thank you. I will now give the floor to the Honourable Ratusela.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I ask the Honourable Minister, is there any plans in place within this ministry to construct overhead road works like in Australia and New Zealand in order to ease this traffic jam? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, before I respond to the Honourable Member, let me reiterate what I said in my response. All of them were jumping and said that I have said nothing. The fact is that they are not listening. This is what I said. I said the implementation flexi hours. That's number one. Hear me out, Honourable Nico. Number two, the need to implement dedicated lanes during peak hours. That's two. Number three, propose bypass in certain locations and recommend 4 and 3 lanes. These people are saying, honourable members are saying, when they haven't seen the bypass and the 4 lane that is started from Nasori to Suva. Are they blind? It has just started. Going back to honourable member, talking about the overhead bridges. Let us finish this 4 lane, 3 lane, and then we'll think about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Karma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for his answers this morning. whether the Honourable Minister is considering setting up a central monitoring system for traffic lights that would adjust the length of time of the green light and the red light in the time where there is busy traffic on the road. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also thank the Honourable Member. It is in place, but we need to improve that, and that is what LTA is doing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Honourable Ratnamani to ask his question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask question number 97 of 2017 under my name in today's order paper. And the question is directed to the Minister for Employment, Productivity and Industrial Relations. And the question is, can the Minister advise this House as to what measures has the Ministry put in place to increase the minimum wage rate in the near future? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I give the floor to the Honourable Minister for Employment, Productivity and Industrial Relations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Selna Nobu for this question. I think, first of all, I'd just like to point out that the national minimum wage and the requirement that we have a national minimum wage was something that came out in the Constitution of 2013, Section 33 of that Constitution. So this is something that this government for the first time has put in place. And it's something that is also showing the ideal that this government has to make sure that we look after the most marginalized. So it's, I might say this term, it's unprecedented. So the requirement came up in 2013, and by 2014, the then Bainimarama government had implemented the first national minimum wage of $2 per hour. And then in 2015, this Fiji first government had then put in a revision of $2.32. So not only is the government committed to looking after the most marginalized in our society, those that do not have access to jobs that give them high pay, we are also committed to a constant revision of the national minimum wage. Not only that, within the Ministry of Employment, we also have sectoral wages that have been set aside for different sectors. And this is just apart from the establishment of the minimum wages. I think the question is on measures. Sometimes you get lost, but we know, if we know where we are going, we'll ultimately end up there. And this government knows where it's going. That's something that we need to reassure everybody. So after establishing the national minimum wage in 2014, as I'd mentioned, the government had carried out its review in 2015. And right now, as we're speaking now, on the 21st of April, we have already committed one phase of the review of the current national minimum wage. That was the collection of data from the formal sector and from the informal sector. The data has been compiled. We are now using, we have contracted this work to a Dr. Patha Gangopade, who is a renowned economist at the University of the South Pacific. He is now providing this analysis of the data that has been collected from that survey to review the minimum wages and the wage regulations orders. And we are looking forward to this review being completed by next month. Madam Speaker, so I can reassure the House and I can reassure everybody in this country that whose wages are subject to this national minimum wage. The work is being carried out and this government is committed to making sure that it is completed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The explanation given by the Honourable Minister. A supplementary question, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary question.
Can the Honourable Minister advise this August House if the mechanism of working out the minimum wage rate, which will be finalised shortly, will also apply to all other different sectors within our economy? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The national minimum wage is intended for unskilled people who do not have any agreement within their employer that guides their employment. Do they have any national mechanism that outlines what their wages should be? We currently have, and in my hands here I have the chart of the wage regulation orders. These wage regulation orders, they sit above the national minimum wage and they articulate the minimum conditions that anybody can have within different sectors. These include the printing trade, the wholesale and retail trade, the hotel and catering trade, garment industry, sawmilling and logging industry, road transport, building and civil, electrical engineering trade, manufacturing industry, mining and quarrying industry, and the security services. So in all of these sectors, if you are not bound by a collective agreement, this wage regulation orders will set the minimum by which you can be paid. And it includes things on rates of pay. It also includes things in relation to overtime, sick leave, annual leave, meal allowance, subsistence allowance. All of these issues are covered for these different sectors. But over and above that, if there are people who fall outside the scope of these 10 different sectors, then they are captured by the national minimum wage. So the national minimum wage is the smallest amount that any person in Fiji can be paid. And that is what we are reviewing at the moment, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Biman Prasad.
Madam Speaker, ridiculous as it may be, $2.32, can the Minister assure the House that even that $2.32 is being adhered to by employers around the country? Because there are employers, Madam Speaker, who pay less than $2.32.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Yes, Madam Speaker, the minimum wages have been put in place. We do have people within the ministry whose job is to try to ensure compliance. And I think one of the basic tenets of employment relations and industrial relations is that the responsibility for making sure that people are paid their due wage is something that government will try to look after, to try to follow up, but at the same time, individual employees must take that responsibility amongst themselves to make sure that they do pay. And when we're talking about the national minimum wage here for unskilled workers, we're also talking about your babysitters at home. And we're talking about the person that cleans up in the market. We're talking about the people that weeds your cassava patch. So everybody who employs anybody that's unskilled, we also ourselves must take responsibility for making sure that they are getting paid. We do have labor inspectors and labor officers that work together with the provincial councils and so forth to try to make sure that there's compliance, and we will continue to do that. But at the end of the day, it needs to be something that everybody in society makes sure that they are aware of what this national minimum wage is and make sure that they can comply with the national minimum wage.
Thank you, Honourable Mikhail.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for his response. Since there are workers in this nature, as he has alluded to in this House, who are paid $2.32, which is well below the poverty line, I would like to ask the Honourable Minister if there are plans to unionize these workers, given the fact that they are spread all over the country. And if government is serious enough about them, then they should also be unionized. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I mean, that's a very good question to ask trade unions. It's obvious that in many cases, trade unions trade unions, they play an important role in society. They try to make sure that they look after the interests of workers, but they tend to go after sectors which are like the public sector, for instance, that is already well structured. But there are very few that go, yes, because there's money involved there. There's very few that go after them. It's not government's role to go around establishing trade unions. But what government has done, prior to in the old labor legislation that we had, people could not bring their grievances to the Ministry of Labor unless they were in a trade union. But government had opened that up under the Bainimarama government, under the Employment Relations Promulgation, so that anybody who has an issue with their employer can bring that on their own to government. And the other thing that demonstrates government commitment to people that are not unionized in these informal sectors, that we have established these wage regulation orders and the national minimum wage. So we will say that government, my ministry in particular, plays the role of an arbiter, of a neutral party that tries to look at the interests of both unions, of workers and also the employers. So it's not going to go around establishing trade unions for these informal sectors. That is something that unions need to consider, whether it's something that they should look at. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Honourable William Nawaka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what you get paid determines what you eat, what you wear, where you live, and where your children go to school. The study is that $160 a week is the living wage for Fiji, which comes down to $4 an hour, advocated by SODAPA. When can Fiji first introduce $4 an hour?
Point of order.
The opposition should be reminded not to make a statement during question. Come up with
the question, please. Don't waste our time.
Thank you. The question has been asked.
Madam Chair, we were given 1 minute as background to our question. We were given 1 minute as background to a question, and this is what you provide: background and then a question. Please, can we all remember that? Thank you.
Now give the floor to the Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to remind the members of the Honourable Opposition there's a difference to background and making a statement. Your background needs to provide the basis on which you can ask the question. But let me get you, when we are talking about, I still have the...
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we need clarification. You, Madam Speaker, yourself have reminded the government side many times, and they don't seem to get it, that the opposition for supplementary has 1 minute. And it is that 1 minute that they have the right to say whatever they want to and ask a question. And if they're not able to ask a question by giving a background within a 1 minute, then you rule on it. But they have 1 minute and they don't seem to understand that. We have 1 minute for supplementary.
Thank you.
They don't get it.
I think you don't get it, Honourable Member, because the 1 minute is really, as the Minister had mentioned, it has to be background to the question that has come, and not outside of that background, which is the case that happened. Anyway, Honourable, excuse me, is that a point of order?
Might I just, for purposes of information...
Point of order, sorry.
Yes, it is, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Might I just remind the House, Madam Speaker, there is a specific provision within the standing orders which relates to questions. Honourable Viman Prasad keeps saying that we have 1 minute to ask a question. That is exactly it. 1 minute to ask a question, Madam Speaker. We don't need to get a repetitive question relative to something else, like he did previously, Madam Speaker. Now, the point is, there is a Standing Order 44 says a question must refer to no more than one subject. A question must not be excessive in length. These are the things that have been put out for questions. I wish they would read this, Madam Speaker. But it is 1 minute. If he's saying it's 1 minute, he has 1 minute to ask a question. It's as simple as that. Not give us a... And if there is a question, that question, if there's background, it's related to that question. Not be repetitive all the time. We understand it better than they do, Madam Speaker.
Thank you for reiterating my ruling on that one. I now give the floor back to the Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When we look at developing a national minimum wage, I've tried to explain that we're using on the basis of a sound methodology. So over the past week, ending on the 21st of April, we have had 88 people that we have hired in the ministry to go out and collect information and data. So first of all, one has to collect information and data before one decides to prescribe what the national minimum wage should be. We're not going to work as suggested by the Honourable Ngavoka, that we're just going to pluck a figure of $4 out of the atmosphere and instantly apply it. We have to look at the ramifications of this on the people themselves who are most marginalized, and at the same time, we have to remember that this national minimum wage is for the unskilled people, people that don't have much options. We also have to make sure that we're looking at the interests of small and micro enterprises. If you raise the wage too high for these small and micro enterprises, we have to think of their ability to be able to cope. So all of these issues we take into account. If you raise wages too high, it has an impact on inflation. We need to take that into account. You also need to take into account the competitiveness of our industries here relative to those offshore. So we're not going to just pluck a figure, a magic figure, an imaginary figure of $4 out of the atmosphere and apply it. No, we're going to base it on sound judgment of all the factors that need to be taken into account.
Thank you, Honourable.
Too much. 235,000, 180,000. How much do you take home in 2 weeks? You don't feel for the poor. So thank you very much for the review. Can you at least assure us that the review will bring them up to beyond the poverty line? That's the question. Will the review bring them up to the poverty line? Can you give us an assurance? Very easy. Given the total amount that you receive, that's 100,000. How much do you take home in the fortnight? 3,000.
Madam Speaker, when we are talking about wages, you also hold your horse, calm down. I'll give you some tea after this to cut you down. When you are looking at the income that comes into a family, you don't only consider what they do in terms of wages. You also need to take into consideration the effect of social wage. This government has been heavily involved in identifying things that we can assist the most marginalized in the society. How do we do this? How do we do this? We have assistance through social welfare. We do assistance for the free bus fares. We take all of this into account. So you can't just pluck a figure like that. You have to look at the impact of all that government does in all the different ministries that contributes to what they get to look after their families. So all of this will be taken into account in developing the national movement.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honorable Moses Semburitaba to ask his question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask question number 98 of 2017 under my name to the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Ethiopian Affairs, Sugar Industry and Foreign Affairs. And the Prime Minister informed the House if the 2013 Constitution will be reviewed by Parliament.
Thank you. And I give the floor to the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Ethiopian Affairs, Sugar Industry and Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I read in the dailies this morning that Honorable Bultavo has been going around the country, and this is one of the questions that's been asked to do with the review of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, once again, this question by the Honorable Member, who I understand is a lawyer, shows that he has not read the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. If he had done so, he would have answered to the public that has been questioning him when he's doing his rounds. I can't imagine the lies he's going to come up with in the next election. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, this is a question that should be directed to the Attorney General, as it is a legal question to do with the Constitution. They can say that it was passed by the Business Committee, but we are tired, Madam Speaker, of correcting them in the Business Committee. Simply put, Madam Speaker, there is no review process under the Constitution. What the Constitution provides for is the process for amendments to be made to the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary, Honorable Karabaki.
Madam Speaker, I'm holding this Constitution, and I refer to the preamble of the Constitution. One of the main principles over there declare our commitment to justice, national sovereignty, security, social and economic well-being, and safeguarding our environment. The Honourable Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, needs to build this nation on the principle of justice. And if we look into the Constitution, we see 27 and 28, they even contradict each other. So the very reason why there must be a review, I ask again, the Honourable Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, would you consider on the principles of justice to bring this Constitution into Parliament to be reviewed? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Prime Minister.
I've already answered to that question, Madam Speaker, that there is no review process under the Constitution. What the Constitution provides for is a process for amendments to be made to the Constitution. Very simple.
This is imposed.
Thank you. Honourable Nawekula.
So many problems with this Constitution. Not counting the fact that they burn it. They burn the real one. They remove from that. They burn the real one.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order. Point of order.
Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member has made an accusation that we burn the Constitution. If he has proof of that, then bring it to this House. Madam Speaker?
Thank you. I ask the Honourable Member to withdraw that statement.
With evidence, I can't withdraw it. There's evidence everywhere. But I do. I do.
You what?
But let me just tell I withdraw it. Let me tell the other flaws. That apart. They removed, especially from this Constitution, references to the rights of indigenous people. Section 185. Very specific. And that being the case, accepting that there's no mechanism for review, it does not stop you to establish an independent commission to look at it. Will you do that, please?
Madam Speaker, you should read the preamble to the Constitution. This Constitution, better than any Constitution, looks after the rights of the indigenous population. Better than any Constitution. Madam Speaker, this Constitution, better than any Constitution, looks after the rights of the indigenous population. You see, there was a statement put out by the church, Methodist Church, on Saturday or Friday. That is a campaign material by Sodelpa. That is a campaign material by Sodelpa. They're talking about racial discrimination. They don't understand what they're talking about. Just like Mulitabo doesn't understand the Constitution. He doesn't understand the Constitution. You don't understand. The United Nations racial discrimination is targeted towards the population, the indigenous population that have no land, that have been victimized by the country. The indigenous population of this land own 92% of this land. We have not... Sit down. Sit down. Give it to us. So you can abuse the money. Is that what you're saying? We had funds for Schedule A and Schedule B, Madam Speaker, that belongs to the landowners of this nation. Guess who misspent it? Guess who abused it? It's Latvia. So, I'm point of order.
Thank you. Point of order.
I asked that he withdraw it. That's not correct. You don't come here and make wild accusations. You must come here with evidence, and I'm quoting what the Honourable Prime Minister said. Can he be asked to withdraw that, please?
Thank you. I take it.
Madam Speaker, I will not withdraw it because it's a fact. Schedule A and Schedule B funds was abused.
And I will not withdraw the fact that you burned the Constitution.
Thank you. Sorry.
You've already done that. So sit up.
You have withdrawn that. And this particular issue has been mentioned so many times before in
Exactly.
and it's being mentioned again now.
Thank you.
Therefore,
Madam Speaker, I have not finished my...
Prime Minister, continue.
I mentioned about the church coming up with a statement on United Nations racial discrimination. They don't understand what they're talking about. It's because they are campaign mouth for Sodelpa. And it's a sad fact. This is a sad fact. The United Nations racial discrimination bit was to look after the indigenous population who have been victimized. We have not been victimized in this land. I don't feel victimized in this land. But the opposition comes up with all these arguments to justify the lies that they've been telling the public. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Bulitamu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Basically, Madam Speaker, this particular constitution was just an enabling constitution to allow for the 2014 election, Madam. And the Honourable Prime Minister said that there is no review process in this particular constitution. Madam, the 1990 constitution went through the same way and went through parliamentary scrutiny and review. My question to the Honourable Prime Minister, does he have the political will, Madam Speaker, to allow this? Because this constitution was decreed to come through, the amendments to come through this House through a bill, so people can participate, so that the people consent to this. At the moment, Madam, people did not agree to this. It was imposed on them. Does the Prime Minister have the political will to do this?
Thank you. To justify your question, you refer to the 1990 Constitution, which no longer exists. The question as it stands is referring to the 2013 Constitution and its relevance review. Thank you. And therefore, your question is out of order and the Prime Minister.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Madam, I gave a comparison in regards to a constitution that didn't have any review provision, but that could be done here. The question is whether the Prime Minister has a political will to do this.
That's just the simple question.
Thank you. That is a question of political will. Point of order process is really on the rules and procedures of the House, and that is not against the rules and procedures of the House. Therefore, it is out of order. I now give the floor to the Honourable Nawaka.
Madam Speaker, if the other side of the House say that it's a wonderful, the greatest constitution, why are you afraid to take it to the people to give it their consent? Why? If it's so great, why don't you go take it to the people to give their consent? It's obviously not a great constitution. Thank you. Can you answer that, please?
Thank you, Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I'll answer that simply, very simple. One, I'll answer Bulitabo's question. I don't have the political will to do anything I don't want to. That's one. And for Honourable Naboka, the people at large is given their consent here. 32 of us sitting here.
Thank you, Honourable Rondo. Last supplementary question.
Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Prime Minister, for saying that this is the best constitution according to you, sir. If I may quote 147, Part 6, in regards to the salaries of the Permanent Secretary, which says that it cannot be reviewed downwards, and Permanent Secretary are sitting on almost 180 to 200,000. Can the Honourable Prime Minister confirm to this House, since the Constitution is saying that you cannot review that salary downwards, can the Honourable Prime Minister confirm to this House to make it a fair and just Constitution, review the salaries of the civil service to bring them up to par with the Permanent Secretary salary? Otherwise, Madam Speaker, it is unfair. It is an unfair Constitution.
Thank you.
Because it's got salary discrimination.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I'll answer that question very simply. She doesn't understand what she's talking about. We're talking about the review of the Constitution. And I've said that there's no review process. Please, get her to understand this, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honourable Prem Singh to ask his question.
Madam Speaker, I rise to ask question number 99 of 2017, standing in my name, and the question is addressed to Minister for Local Government, Housing, Environment, Infrastructure and Transport. Would the Minister inform Parliament what is the projected cost for the completion of the 4-lane highway from Nindi Airport to Denarau Junction?
Thank you, and I give the floor to the Honourable Minister for Local Government, Housing, Environment, Infrastructure and Transport.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this morning there has been a lot of reference to the standing orders and the Constitution. And may I also take this opportunity? I would like... Madam Speaker, may I draw your attention to Standing Order 41.3, because the question that has been raised talks about 4-lane, and I need some guidance from your good chair, Madam Speaker. The 4-lane is from Nindi Airport to Wailoa Junction, not to Denarau Junction. It's out of order. I need your ruling, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Prem Singh. Honourable Prem Singh, please clarify.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I expected that from the Minister.
No, just clarification, please. No statement.
Sorry, I couldn't...
Just clarify your question as based on the statement by the Honourable Minister.
Okay.
Just clarification, no
yes.
other statement.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, the 4-lane is a combined project from Nindi Airport to Denarau Junction, where 4-lane ends up at Wailoa Junction, and then it branches up in a 2-lane. The projected cost of the project, it was a one-off project, and that is the question that we're asking.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
But that is what he's not asking, Madam Speaker. That's why I need ruling from your... Look, don't come in a crooked way to Parliament. Don't maneuver things. Madam Speaker, this is very simple. I've got the plan here. This is out of order.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The question is referring to the four-lane highway from Nandi Airport to Denarau Junction.
Madam Speaker, this is what I am saying. The four-lane is not from point. Can I respond? Madam Speaker, the four-lane, it's not from point A to point B what he's asking. This is what I'm saying. If he wants, he can bring a new question and I'll answer.
Thank you.
The question is wrong.
Thank you. The question,
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
question is flawed. Now,
Is that your ruling, Madam Speaker?
that is my ruling.
Well, if it is your ruling,
You may bring up the question and be more specific in the...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just on a point of order.
Thank you. I have already made my ruling on that.
This question was agreed to in Business Committee, and government members were there. And this is not a flawed question, Madam Speaker.
The minister responsible for the issue under the question has clarified the position that the question really is flawed, and I've taken that. Thank you. I will now give the floor to the Honourable Howard Politini to ask his question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask question 100 of 2017 in my name. To the Honourable Minister for Defence and National Security. Recent information and statistics maintained by the Fiji Police Force show fluctuations in overall crime cases. Can the Honourable Minister explain the recent trend in overall crime for the past 3 years? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I give the floor to the Honourable Minister for Defence and National Security.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the Honourable Howard Politini for his question. Also, I wish to affirm and support the media release put out by the Commissioner of Police on the 24th of January 2017 that the Fiji Police Force has recorded an overall reduction in the crime rate in 2016. In comparing the overall crime statistics in the 5 categories of overall offences, the following trend was recorded. The offences against lawful authority, there was an increase of 27%. Against the person, 70 plus, it was an increase of 75%. Offences against crime decree, increase of 48%. While offences against public morality, a reduction of 61%. And offences against the property, reduction of 24%. Madam Speaker, while there is a fluctuation in overall crimes, the statistics indicate that there is an overall decrease by 13.3%. On the other hand, it is very encouraging to note that there are increases in reported cases as members of the public have been made aware of the importance of reporting and bringing the perpetrators to justice. Madam Speaker, just allow me to go through some of these figures. The offences against lawful authority in 2014, it was 265, 2015, 257, in 2016, 336, increase of 27%. Offences against public morality, 2014, 4,415, 2015, 2,714, 2016, 1,696, a reduction of 61%. And the offences against person, which includes murder and manslaughter, in 2014, 3,061, 2015, 4,880, 2016, 5,360, increase of 75%. Offences against property, 2014, 8,622, 2015, 11,340, 2016, 10,719, a decrease of 24%. And other offences against a crime decree, which includes drugs, Madam Speaker, in 2014, 1,273, 2015, 1,628, 2016, 1,880, an increase of 48%. So overall, Madam Speaker, a reduction of 13.3% over the years of 2014 to 2016. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Maharaj.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my supplementary question to Minister would be, what initiatives have been undertaken by Fiji Police Force that contributed to decrease in crime? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, the key initiatives implemented by the Fiji Police Force to reduce crime included the followings. One, push forward of manpower to the front lines through ongoing recruits and training of officers. Secondly, the strengthening of special task forces in all divisions. Third, strengthening of the Nduabata community policing, and that's targeting women and children. And fourth, collaboration with relevant stakeholders, to name a few. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, and I give the floor to the Honorable Nwekulu.
The police annual report for 2015 states increases in rape and attempted rape by 38 cases, murder by 6 cases, robbery by 67 cases, burglary 554 cases, and other offences 96. Could the Honourable Minister confirm to the House whether really there is a decrease or there is an increase? Because I'm reading it differently here. This is the figures for 2015.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
And this is taken from the annual report.
Madam Speaker, as I mentioned, the statistic is very clear. In 2014, reference to the rape and attempted rape was 246. 2015, 284. And 2016, 328. So there was an increase of 33%, and that's what I said.
Increase.
Increase.
Thank you. And now give the floor to the Honourable Mboribo.
First, in addressing the type of offences. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You may note from my earlier response that there are increases in offences against the persons by 75% and other offences against the crime by 48%. These offences range from attempted murder, manslaughter, serious to common assault, forgery to drugs. And let me take, for example, offences related to drugs. Madam Speaker, we agree that there has been significant growth in the unlawful handling of drugs. Drug trafficking and other commodities are generally characterized by high levels of organization and the presence of strong criminal groups and networks. In addressing such challenges, I support the sentiments echoed by the Commissioner of Police that we can overcome these challenges if we work together as responsible citizens to fight this crime. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honourable Dr. Bridgewater.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask question number 101 of 2017, put under my name in the order paper for today. The question is for the Minister for Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation. Can the Minister provide this House with an update of the Fiji Barefoot College? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister for Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As you know, Madam Speaker, in 2012, the Fijian government sent 10 women from the villages of Ndama, Waikumbuku and Vitilevo, Nakorvo, Wunindongalo from the north, and Nayoti of Kandavu. They were sent to the Barefoot College in India to undertake a 6-month training to become solar engineers. After that training, these ladies came back and solar-powered their villages in the communities that they lived in. Out of that partnership, Madam Speaker, negotiations began in 2015 to build a barefoot college here in Fiji. With the generosity of the Tuinandongo of Madwata and the Tui Madwata, the Ndongo people have leased part of their land to government where the Fiji Barefoot College will be built. This will be a partnership between the Fijian government and the Indian government, where the Indian government will be funding up to around 2.6 million Fijian dollars to equip solar equipment, technical expertise, training, and vocational support in the field of solar electrification. The entire project, Madam Speaker, is basically an initiative to hone in on the expertise and skills of rural women to tap into their potential to become solar engineers and electrify their various villages. In 2015, another 5 women were sent to India for similar training. They're from Ndongo in Madhuwata and 2 from Kandavu. They have also come back and are qualified solar engineers. It is anticipated that once this Barefoot College is up and running, around 1,200 communities, rural households, can be solar electrified with expertise that we will draw out of this college. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Bolivar. Supplementary question.
Will the college help Fiji and the Pacific with the Barefoot?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, as I stated, it will be a college for training women to become solar engineers. It will be an opportunity also to train not only Fijian women, but also women of the Pacific to give them the necessary skills to become solar engineers and electrify their various villages and communities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Salvi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for that explanation on the Barefoot College. Can you clarify to the House on how these women graduating from that college, how their expertise will be put in use in Fiji in relation to the purchase or the solar energy provided by the relevant ministry to our various communities in Fiji? Who's going to be bearing the cost? Because without those projects, then their expertise will sort of not be utilized. So how are you going to synchronize, or how are you going to ensure that those expertise are put into use for the benefit of the women so that they will be paid, and also for the benefit of the communities in terms of lighting in their communities?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a program that runs in parallel with the Department of Energy's national programs relating to solar energy. These programs, Madam Speaker, these ladies are qualified solar engineers, and they have already electrified their communities. There's evidence out there. What this means for these communities is that the cost in relation to power is decreased a lot. Apart from that, we are also attaining our national aims in relation to green economy and the SDGs. It means education. Children now can study under light where there was none before. It's an empowering program, and it runs parallel in relation to government's programs pertaining to solar energy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary, I give the floor to the Honorable Alvin Maharaj.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My supplementary question to Minister would be, what is the projected cost to establish the college and the plans to bring this project to reality?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
It's about 2.6 million, which will be the part that will be funded by the government of India. The Fijian government, we're also looking for partners in this. For the host government, it'll be around $3.1 million. As anticipated, this project will take a few years to complete construction-wise, so that particular price tag will be spread over a number of years. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I give the floor to the Honorable Bolitavu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question to the Honorable Minister, why was Ndongo identified? Given that in this particular Fiji Barefoot College, given that there are other, even an economic center that's in Ndongo that's not working, that, houses handicraft for women. And I was there 2 weeks ago at Wuniwutu village, and the women, they prefer bakeries and other things. Why was Ndongo identified, or how did the ministry identify this particular area in Wencor?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Speaker, the venue was identified not only by the Fijian government but also from the expertise we have in India from the Barefoot College. It's been identified as the most suitable for this particular project. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I give the floor to the Honourable Asiri Randrondo.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for the explanations given, and I hear that there's a stakeholder partnership agreement and arrangement in place. Can the Minister inform this House what is the role of the UN, specifically UN Women, in this project?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, as I've indicated earlier, at the moment it's between the Government of India, Barefoot College in India, and the Fijian government. As and when other partners will come in, we will determine that as and when we go along. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Nowaikulu.
From the villages on the solar power system. How does this training supplement or help them?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, these ladies, where they come from, where they have solar electrified their villages, if something goes wrong in their villages, they're already equipped to fix whatever is the problem there. That's happening. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honourable Chilila Kumar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I ask my question, Madam Speaker, I would like to congratulate Andila Kumbau and Natangwa High School for winning the Coke Games this year. And also would like to take this opportunity too, Madam Speaker, to salute my just parenting for winning the Cokes, coming from nowhere in 2013, and enabling to win the Cokes and defend the Cokes for the last 4 years. That is a great achievement, Madam Speaker. They won the first title in 2013 until last year. And also I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for his rescue during, he knows and I know, the struggles that they face. But we were able to produce 11 goals, and that is a great achievement. And secondly, I would like to thank the girls for displaying true sportsmanship, good sportsmanship during these 3 days.
Thank you. Question, please.
Them, and I congratulate them and I thank them for that. My question is 102 of 2017, and the question is forwarded to the Minister for Women, Children, Poverty Alleviation. The question is, can the Minister enlighten this House on the REACH program, project? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Minister for Women, Children, Poverty Alleviation.
Speaker. In April 2015, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister signed the project agreement with UNDP to initiate a project called REACH, R-E-A-C-H. This, Madam Speaker, stands for Rights, Empowerment and Cohesion for Rural and Urban Fijians. The total funding towards this project is around $2.6 million US, Madam Speaker, and I must thank the government of Japan with the support of the UNDP that has brought this project into realization. Madam Speaker, the REACH project aims to promote peace building, social cohesion and inclusiveness. It conducts awareness raising of the social, economic and legal rights of Fijians. At the moment we have as partners the Human Rights Commission. We also have the Fiji Police Force that has just signed up, and of course the Legal Aid Commission, Madam Speaker. These institutions, along with my ministry, they go out to rural areas to raise awareness on the various areas of mandate that they have. In a week ago, there was a commissioning of 3 mobile buses which will enable the taking out of these services in a more efficient and effective manner for the different institutions that are involved. These buses are custom fitted to serve as basically officers that will go out to the rural areas There will be one in the Central Division, one in the Western Division, and one in the Northern Division to enable the spreading out of awareness, raising awareness, and the delivery of services to our rural Fijians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, the Honourable Minister, for that explanation, which highlights the information delivery to the communities. The communities are coming up with actual service delivery, like requests for dental services, the dental buses or the dental van out in the community. How is the reach aligned to the Ministry of Health's work activities to be able to deliver not information only, but actual work on the ground? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I've stated the partners for this REACH project. The Ministry of Health has its own programs. For the delivery of services for the institutions that are involved in this project, since it started from September 2015 to March 2017, the team has provided 2,388 persons with actual services. Actual services meaning the programs, for example, that my ministry runs, the social benefit schemes. People were able to access that particular service as and when this team was going out in the rural areas. Legal Aid Commission would be another example where legal services are provided as and when the team is out in the rural areas. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Avik Maharaj.
Madam Speaker, my supplementary question to Minister would be, does the project promote Fijian made initiative? And if she can specify Fijian made initiative within the REACH project?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, the REACH project is a champion of Fijian-made products. In this case, the 3 buses that I spoke about are made entirely in Fiji by PA Lal Coachwork, and it shows again the capacity of our Fijians to come up with state-of-the-art products such as the buses that are being utilized for the REACH program. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honourable members. We will now suspend the sitting. We'll break for refreshment, and we will resume at 11:30. Thank you.